you beautiful collectors and action figure fans. It is the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And finally, on today's episode, thanks to the absolute incredible support of my patrons, Optibotimus Plus channel members, and those of you that just hit that thumbs up button, we are going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 528 of none other than the 1/6 scale Ironman Mark 85 from Avengers Endgame. A lot of times people will ask me, what is my favorite Iron Man suit? Or what is my most anticipated figure of the year? And while it varies from line to line, the Mark 85, without a shadow of a doubt, was one that was absolutely on that list of highly anticipated releases by Hot Toys. For the package, as you can see, absolutely gorgeous image of the Mark 85 right there. Much like all of the die-cast figures, it is a fairly large box, and you can kind of see there's a little bit of a metallic look to it, which is absolutely breathtaking. Now, unlike a lot of those die-cast figures from previous releases, there is no plastic sort of outer sleeve. It is all just this heavy-duty cardboard. But the art on here is spectacular. The reflection is just eye-catching. You come around to the side here, you got the Iron Man Mark 85 logo, you got his arc reactor right up there, you got the Avengers A logo. The back here has the both cast and crew responsible for making the figure, as well as the various contact and warnings and things of that nature for Hot Toys. And then, as I said, because it is that die-cast figure, it does open from the side here. It's a little bit tricky. Come on there, shake it a little bit. Here we go. Gets in there very securely. Kind of just lift this up. Like I was saying, this is a heavy-duty box that you can... Here, I mean, that's heavy-duty. Set that right there. This is the foam tray that has it. I like how they have the arc reactor right there. It is upside down, so maybe I was holding it upside down. There you go. And then on the front here says Iron Man Mark 85. Get that there. And then you slide this down, and a whole bunch of stuff is probably going to fall like that. But on the inside here, you get all the accessories for the Mark 85 as well as the figure himself. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. I've already wasted enough time talking about this. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here is the Iron Man Mark 85 from Avengers Endgame, opened up and out of his packaging. Now starting off first, much like all Hot Toy figures, he does come with his instruction sheet. And if you have any of the Iron Man die-cast figures, you pretty much know what to expect. It goes through, shows how to install all the batteries. You have some images here of how to swap out some of his parts, such as the Nano Gauntlet, the chest piece, which is completely pointless, is Nano Lightning Refocuser, the air flaps, how to swap out his head, and then goes through and covers all of his articulation. I say this every single time that they take a look at a Hot Toy figure, but you really want to make sure that you go through this. These are expensive pieces, and you definitely want to know what you're doing with it before you start kind of playing around with them. Now, coming down to take a look at his other accessories, he really doesn't come with a lot, and that is one of the criticisms that I do have for this set. As you can see, in addition to the two fisted hands that are currently on him, he also comes with the standard repulsor blast hands where the wrist is on an angle. You have the wrist guard on the back here kind of angled up so that you can position this where it looks like he's blasting. And then you do get a pair of articulated hands. I kind of talk about this every now and then, and I sometimes forget, but I do like the added detail of this. When you have the articulated hands, for example, you can see that gold accent that's at these knuckles, which is movie accurate. You could really see that in the scene where Tony and Steve Rogers go back in time and take the Tesseract from the army base, I guess you could call it. You could really see those gold accents. Here, though, because you have articulation joints in there, they don't put that little gold bit right there, which is really unfortunate because it does take away some of the accuracy of it. And it kind of sucks, to be totally honest. Now, when you look at the fisted hand, you can also see that the gold is on there. So really, while these are nice to be able to articulate the fingers, because of that articulation, you do lose some of that extra paint detail. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but you do get both of those. He also does come with a alternate portrait, this being of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. He also comes with an alternate neck piece, which works very nicely. Now, this has actually gotten a lot of controversy. When this was first announced, this is the head sculpt that we obviously got, but this is not the head sculpt that they showed us. And a lot of people really were expecting that. And then when we got this, they're like, what did they do to it? And definitely, objectively, you could complain because they showed us a different head sculpt than what we got on the final product. That's always the thing, you know, the final product may vary. And don't worry, I'll get into that when I get my Unicron. But I think that this is a great likeness to Robert Downey Jr. Specifically, let me get kind of this out of the way so it stays focused. But specifically, this looks like Robert Downey Jr. after the 5-year gap from the beginning of Endgame and then the end of Endgame. If you remember, due to the events of Infinity War, he was stranded on, well, Titan and then I think it was the Milano, and was stuck there for a little while. And because of it, he lost a tremendous amount of weight and looked absolutely sick. When he came back, we kind of saw that with him hooked up to like IVs and things of that nature. But I feel like none of the weight really truly came back to him, and it really slimmed him down. You can kind of even see it, especially like underneath here with the different wrinkles in his neck. It really shows a level of almost emaciation. And I think that that carried on throughout the entire time. Now, you can kind of see the skinniness of his neck in that scene when they're all wearing the quantum suits, you know, and Steve Rogers gives the whole whatever it takes kind of speech, and then Tony kind of turns his head. You can kind of see how thin his neck looks. And I think that they captured that nicely here. I actually really do like this head sculpt. But one thing that's interesting is that Hot Toys doesn't do this very much. But because of the outcry of fans, what they decided to do was with the regular US release, they're going to be replacing this head sculpt with, I believe, just a repainted Mark 50 head sculpt. So you're going to get a reuse of that head sculpt that we got with the Mark 50. So it almost kind of makes this one a little bit more limited because I got this from overseas. And when all of them are sent over here, they're going to have a completely different head. The Mark 50 one's not bad, but I absolutely think that this is more accurate to how he looked in Endgame. And I don't mind it at all. I also like the lighter hair. I do wish he had a little bit more gray in it. This is just a very kind of light blonde. I also wish that they put a little bit more wrinkles in him. It's not bad, but he did have a much more weathered face in the movie. And I would have liked to have seen that. But ultimately, I'm very happy that I got this head sculpt. Because this is the one that I would want. I don't want another Mark 50. Because the Mark 50 comes from the, like I said, earlier time. And I'm just much happier with this. Now, he also does come out, set this off to the side. He also does come with the lightning refocuser. This is the thing that he used when he was side by side with Thor and Captain America fighting Thanos at the end of Endgame. This came out from the back of his nanosuit, and then Thor, using both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, channeled lightning into this, which refocused it and supercharged it so that from these points, it blasted out at Thanos. Now, I love this. This is a great accessory to have, but I do wish he came with more. Now, obviously, the Mark 50 didn't come with a lot, and then we got an accessory pack. So maybe we'll get something like that with this. And I'll show how to attach it. It's fairly easy. But what I think a lot of people are really excited about, except for me, to be totally honest, is the Nano Gauntlet. Now, as you can see, it's his whole arm, and then you get the fingers here, which are articulated. Now, one thing that's interesting, you can kind of see the little gold bits on the tip there that the regular hand didn't even have. Obviously, this is a little bit different because of the gems and everything. The problem, though, that I do have with this is that when he used this, when he attached this to his arm, it got almost immediately, it got tremendously battle damaged on there, and the suit itself was also ridiculously damaged. He also had a bloodied up face. So, again, I love the fact that we got this, but I feel like they should have saved this for the battle damage release, which we are getting, and I do have pre-ordered. Honestly, having this on there, while it looks cool, it doesn't look right because it doesn't have the battle damage on there. There's no battle damage on the suit. There's no battle damage on his face. It's just clean, and I don't know. I mean, I'm probably the only one that's going to complain about it, but I don't think that we should have gotten this. Honestly, I would have been much happier if we got that not holographic, but that projection shield that he used to protect himself and Hawkeye when Hulk put the Infinity Gauntlet on his arm. That would have made more sense. Now, we are getting, with the battle damage version, that shield, but I think they should have swapped things out. I don't think that they should have gave us this. I think they should have gave us that shield with this release. It's not bad. Either way, I'm going to be getting both figures, so I'm going to have both of those. But this, with the battle damage sort of look, is going to be coming with the battle damage one. So, honestly, I don't think we really need a clean one with this. And you're probably going to be like, Paul, you're crazy in thinking that, but maybe I'm crazy. It's still absolutely gorgeous. You can see a tremendous amount of detail in there. The coloring, it looks great. It does light up, and I'll show that off here in a bit. Hopefully that's nice and focused. But great detail throughout there. You got the repulsor on the inside as well. And it just hooks onto his elbow section fairly easily. But like I said, I'll show that off. You can't actually light it up because it's powered by the light that's in his arm, not in this. And then you connect it, and then there's like a whole circuit that's connected, and then it makes the light up. So I'll show that off here in a bit. And then finally, he does come with a display stand. You can see it says Iron Man right there in the front. It doesn't have the metal plate. I kind of wish it did. Gorgeous detail here with the Avengers A with that spot varnish. And then you've got the arc reactor, nano casing thing right there, Avengers Endgame. You can see that it is a dynamic stand, so you can position him flying. Again, I wish that they would give us this and then give us just a regular crotch grabbing one. I think that would be fairly fun. So accessory wise, that is about it. Now, coming in to take a closer look at the Mark 85, this guy is absolutely gorgeous. I've said it before, but a lot of times people ask me what my favorite Iron Man suit is. And more often than not, it's the one that was most recently released. So even though it is the most recent release, it's not my favorite just because of that. And I'll get into that here in a bit. But the overall design that Marvel went with is absolutely spectacular. And recreating it is fairly tricky to do. Much like the Mark 50, this was all a nanotech suit, which came out of his arc reactor and then covered his body. So while there is a lot of metal and everything throughout it, it is a very form-fitted sort of thing and very seamless. The problem, though, is when you're trying to recreate that in terms of an action figure, you do get some kind of gapping. But I think they did a pretty decent job. You can really kind of mitigate some of those open crevices by kind of keeping things tight to the body. And you can do it fairly easily. And you can see that it looks really very nice. And again, very, very seamless. Now, the back sections here, I have them. They are these pieces. I'll put them back on here. Oh, wait, or is it this one? No, it goes like right here. But I left them off so that I can show you the light up feature. Starting off first with the helmet, all you have to do for that, let me come down a little bit to make it fairly easy, is slide this piece off. It is a little bit of a magnet, and then you just, I feel like there's a short in it or the batteries aren't connected properly, but that is absolutely gorgeous. And then the other thing that I really like is that it lights up on the back here too. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see it right there. So obviously you have the very bright eyes, and then the back around like where his neck is, it lights up as well. I think that's a real nice touch. And just to kind of conserve the battery, I'm going to turn those off, but you put that right back on just like so. And then this part here is how you light up his back. I do recommend using the tool with this. You just kind of put that in there,
separate that like so, and then you got the on and off switch right here that when you activate it, will activate his main arc reactor and a lot of other lights throughout the entire body. You can see obviously the main arc reactor, and then you got 3 here in the front, up here by the shoulder, 1 by the chest area, and then down here in the hip area. Then you come around to the back and you got 2 that are towards the shoulder blades, and then 2 that are here on the back as well. Again, all really very nicely done and light up really very, very well. And then, like I said, the arms, in order to activate those, I don't really like how you always have to remove things, but you can't really put on and off switches in even inconspicuous places because they're going to stand out. But there's the switch for that. Let's put that on. And I don't think that does really anything except for lights up right there. So you do have that. But what you can do with this arm, you can pop this off. It just slides off. Now, the Mark 50 did that as well, and I thought about putting this on there, and while it does go on there, it doesn't click into place. So you could put this on the Mark 50 if you really wanted to, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. But just put that in there, and then that locks into place. And then we're going to flip this switch on, and boing, it lights that up. This is a little bit harder to see, but you can see the jewels right there. Of course, you got the time stone. The inside here has the arc reactor, but you got the time stone right there. You do have the power stone, mind stone, reality. Oh no, I said that's the space stone. The reality stone, the soul stone, and then you got the mind stone right there. Those look good, but again, it is a little bit harder to see them, but that does look cool. But this is what I was talking about, that while that's really cool and you can get that sort of pose going, it just doesn't feel right because he didn't look like this when he had that Infinity Gauntlet on his arm. So I don't know. Like I said, I like the fact that we have this as an accessory. I just don't necessarily think that it fits all that well. So let's turn these lights off. Again, they can serve battery. And then for the back section, you can see this part here just comes around, and you got the little prongs right there that literally just will, if you line it up proper, plug it in there, and there you have it. And then again, you have the weaponized lightning bolt thing. So really nice how it kind of comes out here and matches very nicely with the rest of the paint and everything. I do kind of wish that they made this light up. Unfortunately, they didn't, which, I mean, you know, it is what it is, I guess. But you can easily use this to have a giant blast effect going on here. It kind of makes him look like a giant moth. So that attaches really very easily, and then you just take this section here, put that right back on, just like that. Really nice gold accents throughout the entire thing. Some nice silver for the main frame and everything. But the overall look of this is designed to replicate, and I love doing this just because I'm a huge Iron Man fan, and this is one of the most prized possessions in my collection. But the Mark 85 is meant to look like the original Iron Man. Now, this is my first edition copy of the first Iron Man comic. Now, this isn't the first appearance of Iron Man, but it's his first standalone comic. But you can see that what they went with was this kind of look where the upper arms have that yellow or gold, the lower arms have the red, the main torso, and then the upper part of the crotch is red as well. You got yellow or gold for his thighs, even down to his knees, and then you got the lower sections here, which are red, much like the red on there. So I absolutely love what they did with this in terms of recreating that and homaging that original comic. And in fact, the Mark 85 is named 85 because it was the 85th issue of Iron Man where the Iron Man Mark IV was debuted. And the Mark IV is a very popular suit amongst Iron Man fans. It's one that he used for a very long time, and it's just kind of iconic with him. So it's cool to see that the Mark 85 homages a lot of different things. Now, for a couple comparisons, I'm going to set him there, and let's bring in that Mark 50. I do think that they do a little bit better of a job with the streamlined nature, like especially here with the shoulders. I'm trying to get him to stand because, again, my table here is rounded. But like the smoothness of the shoulders there, I think that they do a little bit better of a job having it stay a little bit more like compressed and tight to the body. The shoulders here do look perfectly fine, but you can see that they flare out a little bit more. It's not bad. It does give a little bit more of a muscular look to them, and I do like the little bit more bulky look. I think people complain that that looked a little bit too much skin tight. This one is good. Now, these glasses are the Edith glasses. Well, not specifically the Edith glasses. These are the ones that, these are third-party ones that I bought to kind of replicate that. But this is the head that they are going to be giving us in replacement of this. And both of these still look really very, very good. But there is an aged look to the new one that I think just fits a little bit more. Bringing these in, you can see that there's a little... Well, I mean, the colors are pretty much the same in terms of the skin tone, but you can see that the hair is lighter, like especially right here. You got a little bit more gray, obviously, and then lighter throughout there. But then again, you look at the bottom of the neck, and you can see the age in his neck. That kind of emaciation that I was talking about kind of shows through there, and you got a little bit more gray in the beard. He just looks thinner, and you can kind of see a little bit more sagging in the eyes or around the eye area, which just shows a sunken in thin look. Now, like I said, this is the one that they are going to be giving you if you get this through Sideshow Collectibles, Big Bad Toys, or things of that nature. The Hot Toy releases overseas are what came with this. They stopped that, and like I said, they're going to be repainting this one. So it is what it is. But in terms of the Ironman helmets, this is what you have. So you can put that on there. Oh, I'm not even letting you see it. I'm sorry, guys. But you can see the differences there with the overall suits and such. But I do really like the new head on both of these. And, I mean, in general, I think they look good. He actually looks a little bit taller, doesn't he? He's a smidge taller, it seems. He just has more of that classic look, though, that I just absolutely love. But there you go. The comparison to the Mark 50, which is also a favorite suit of mine. Now, coming in for his articulation, the head here is on a ball joint. Nice range of motion. You also do have an extra hinge joint, so you can kind of move that up and down, get a good range of motion. This also does kind of position up and down a little bit. Not a ton, but it does. Shoulders here. This piece here is separate. You can pull this out to get a little bit further range of motion. Do be careful when you're moving it, though. You don't want to get that like right there, that it can get caught in things. So pulling that out gives you a little bit more range of motion, does rotate at the bicep, moves in and out very nicely, but again, that kind of sticks in the way. I love how when you move the elbows, as you can see, it moves this upper bicep piece. And then when you bring it back down, push that right back. You do have two joints right there, which is nice. Wrists do rotate. They're on ball joints. You get a little bit of forward and back, in and out, all that kind of stuff. The waist section here, let's get this up and out of the way. Oh, I did forget to mention that this piece can detach. It's utterly pointless because it was all nanotech, so he wouldn't have that underneath there. But if you want to get a closer look at the nano housing, I guess they could probably just swapped it out with, or probably did that just so that they can put the battle damage piece in there. But the waist itself, you can see, does move forward and back. This little piece here also moves, so you can kind of wiggle it. But what's nice is these little bits here kind of flare out a little bit, so you can get a little bit more range of motion, and then you can extend this on two different joints, so you can angle that a little bit more. You get a little bit more side to side, a little bit more rotation, and then like I said, you can see that those flare out just a little bit, just to get you a little bit more extra range of motion. Collapse that. These little bits here do move forward. This little piece comes out as well, and then you can move it forward and back, and then you can go in and out. You can also then hinge it down on a separate bit that allows a little bit more range of motion with it, get a much higher kick, all that fun stuff. Does rotate a little bit at the hip itself, and then you have a rotation at the thigh. Come down here to the knee, and then let's collapse that back up and in. The knee is on a nice double ratchet joint there. Get a good range of motion with that bit. The ankles here, I really liked what they did here. It does get locked in fairly securely, but this little piece here can move up. This little back piece can move back, so you can move it forward and back. It doesn't get a lot of side to side, but you can, and this is always tricky. I don't like forcing it too much because there's not a lot of space, but it does, there we go, slide down just a little, and you get a little bit more side-to-side motion with it, which is good, and then collapse that right back up. You can position the front section back, the back section, and then you also do have a little bit of, get this kind of up and out of the way. Toe articulation, though, is right there, and you got an extra little piece there that does kind of move around. So all the articulation that you would expect in a die-cast figure is present. Absolutely gorgeous. It is, in my opinion, one of the absolute... What's happening here? Why are you stuck up like that now? I'm going to have to fiddle with that to see what I did to pop that out. But that's not going to be good. But for the articulation, though, that is about it. It is pretty standard on these die-cast figures, so you pretty much know what you're getting. And you'll be able to pretty much pull off any pose that you're going to want, even if it is involving this. So there you are, guys. My look at the new Iron Man Mark 85 1/6 scale figure from Hot Toys. And you know, this is a bit of a bittersweet review. With what happened to Tony at the end of Endgame, this suit was his last. And it very well could be the last Iron Man figure that Hot Toys gives us. I mean, granted, there are a few left over from the House Party Protocol, but this one here just has something special about it. As I mentioned, a lot of times people ask me, what is my favorite Iron Man suit? And more often than not, the answer is always the most recent one that they release. But what Marvel did with the design is also something that I absolutely love. So that, combined with the fact that it is the last, really does put this in a very unique category and a special place in my collection. Now, while this is the last suit that Tony wore, this version from Hot Toys is not going to be the last one. As I mentioned, we are getting that battle damage one, and I am absolutely thrilled to get that one as well. And while a lot of times I have two of the same character in my display, I never have two of the same figure. But I have zero problem getting both this and that battle damage version. This is, in my opinion, the best Iron Man figure that we've ever gotten. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some things about this release that I feel could have been done differently. Number one, as much as I love this, I wish we didn't get it. It kind of would have made that battle damage version a little bit more special because when he had these attached to him, he sustained all that battle damage for the most part. And while I still like this, I wish that they would have given us something else that's a little bit more suited to this. Maybe some extra arm weapons. That shield that we're getting would have been nice. I mean, granted, I'm ultimately going to get all of those accessories just in general. And if you do get that battle damage version, you're going to get this plus a lot of extra stuff. You're not, I don't think you get these, but you'll probably go on like eBay and somebody's probably parting this out and you could probably buy that for relatively cheap. So I think that ultimately, a lot of people are going to go with that battle damage version as their primary one. But as I said, I have to have both of these. They are just that good. The head sculpt that he comes with, I think, is actually really good. I know some people complained about it, but I personally think that it is really well done. And to be totally honest, I am happy that I got this version from my friend overseas. That way I could have this, because it's going to make this, in my opinion, stand out as being a little bit more special. It's not going to be like everybody else's that's going to have that repainted Mark 50 head sculpt. And while, you know, I wish that, you know, he had more accessories and things of that nature, there really isn't much that's bad about this. The figure is extremely well detailed. The engineering is really well done. The balance of the plastic pieces and the die cast really do kind of complement each other. The paint detail, everything on here, though, is just, in my opinion, a win. So really, what else is there left to say? If you could only get one Iron Man, this is absolutely one that I would strongly recommend. And now with this, in addition to the Endgame version of Captain America, all we're waiting for is Thor to complete the Marvel Cinematic Universe Holy Trinity. So all that being said, if this version of the Iron Man is one that you would like to add to your collection, as I said, I picked this up from my friend Tim Cent overseas, who has fairly reasonable prices considering you are getting these considerably earlier through him than you would if you went through some of the stores here domestically. But as always, if you don't want to pay that extra and get him a little bit earlier, maybe you're a little bit more patient than I am, you can always get him through places online like Big Bad Toy Store. For both options, I'll put links right down in the video description. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Remember, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you would do one very simple thing for me. And that's just to hit that thumbs up button. That one very small gesture really does go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really very much appreciate it. Also, I gotta send a huge shout out to all of my patrons and Optibotimus Plus channel members, who through their direct support help to make reviews like this possible. And if you'd like information on how you can help support my channel directly by becoming a patron like these guys, feel free to check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/Optibotimus. Or if you want to keep all of your perks and rewards, like custom channel chat and comment emojis, early access to video reviews, exclusive member live streams, Zoom calls, as well as the occasional giveaway like these guys do, consider becoming a member of Optibotimus Plus. And for that, all you have to do is click on that little join button right down there. And as always, remember, I love you 3000.